the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs has promised to bolster the country's municipalities following yet another damning report from the Auditor General, Tsakani Maluleke. The report revealing that only 34 out of 257 municipalities received a clean audit, with the majority of them being repeat offenders. Now, the question is, what will it take to fix the country's ailing municipalities? To help us answer that question, I'm joined for this conversation by the COGTA Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa. Alongside the Minister is Piet Leroux, CEO of COGTA. To both of you, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and good evening. Minister, can I start with you? The government, through President Cyril Ramaphosa, when he addressed Parliament, I think it was at the opening of Parliament, he said that national government is now going to prioritize the situation in municipalities. What did he mean by that in practical terms? Because this picture seems to be getting uglier and uglier by the year.
Good evening, Oli, Piet Leroux, as well as the viewers of Newzroom Afrika. Indeed, Oli, the President and the whole government of national unity have come to a clear realization that if you want to see South Africa going forward, developing, able to deliver services to its people, you must get it right at a local government sphere. The reason is, only there is nobody who lives in the national or provincial level. Everybody lives in a particular municipality. If you want to develop a country, you must make the municipalities functional. Because if a municipality is able to deliver services, give water, collect waste, fix potholes, the business people will come and invest their money in that municipality. Once investment is done, job opportunities will be created. So if you want to turn things around in the economy of South Africa, focus must be given at a municipal level. What will it take to do to turn things around at a local government? Firstly, you must introduce a culture of accountability to municipalities. You must ensure that the municipalities that are functional are given more support so that they do well to attract more business people.
Yeah.
Those that are not functioning, give them support, identify firstly the challenges. If it is administrative, provide personnel to support them. If it is financial, especially those who are not financially able to handle their programs, revisit a funding model so that the deep rural municipalities are assisted financially to be able to provide services to its people. And thereafter, monitor, give time frames, and people must perform, introduce accountability, transparency, and consequence management. If people are doing wrong things deliberately, take them to task so that they know we want everything to be done right so that the government can function properly.
Yeah. Pete, I'd like to get you into this conversation. The minister is, at least on the face of it, is saying the right things. Before we get to COGTA's judicious approach to things, how does one cynic not dismiss what the minister is saying as simply 2026 that is upon us. It's basically the local government elections, and politicians will say what they need to say in order to get votes. How does what the minister has just said not get dismissed by a cynic?
Well, I think, firstly, we must appreciate that Minister Hlabisa has not been in office that long, and he has, after the national elections, now been allocated a very daunting task, something that you must be very brave even just to accept. And so I think we can give Minister Hlabisa time and see what his dedication will lead us to. But of course, it does not come. We do not need to start at the beginning. And I think looking back at the absolute disaster, the total collapse in so many municipalities across the country, I think Minister Hlabisa has access to accelerate. He is in a position to possibly accelerate things faster than some of his predecessors. Let me pause for a moment and just reflect how important this situation of collapse at a local level is. If we allow the collapse of economies in towns across the country as they are happening, we will see businesses leave those towns, and we will see property values go to zero or very little in those towns. And the outflux from those towns to the regional towns will lead to a increased pressure on the service delivery there, repeating the cycle, and eventually destabilize the metros. So unless we solve the collapse of municipalities at a local level, we face a cascading failure of local administration right up to the metros. Now, as much as, firstly, a lot is at stake. Second, Minister Hlabisa is only in office for a short while. And I think there is hope if Minister Hlabisa reaches and takes the hands of many organizations at a local level, SARC, but also others, who are looking to solve things, either through the courts or just by taking the initiative at a local level. But absent cooperation with businesses and civil society groups in these towns, I do not see a solution.
Minister, those words from Mr. Leroux, in fact, he says one element that businesses will leave those municipalities if the conditions are not conducive for businesses to thrive. And if a business leaves, I don't need to tell you that the people who are employed in that company will become unemployed. Clover is one such company. It left the Northwest for KZN because of an untenable situation in that municipality. So you've got to tell us, Minister, what the solution is, starting with the finances. How do municipalities get things right where the AG, the Auditor General, is now simply at a loss for what needs to be done? Because time and again, she produces these reports which frustrate her as well, because people are just not doing what they're supposed to.
Toli, I fully agree with Pete. If you allow the municipalities to collapse, the economy will collapse, unemployment will follow. That is why a focus this time around is given to the local government sphere. What should be different this time? Consequence management. The Auditor General, different Auditor General have been giving one and the same message, that the situation is not good. What has not been done is consequence management to people who did not account correctly about the use of the state resources. In a short space of about 2 months, we have categorized the 257 municipalities to functional municipalities, to municipalities at risk, and to dysfunctional municipalities, which a number has dropped from 66, and we will have to release it officially but it has dropped dramatically. But we have gone further to identify the 10 worst municipalities in South Africa. And we are going to present a turnaround plan in 21 days from last week in the cabinet. The turnaround plan will have short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. In a short-term goals, a period of 4 months, medium-term goals, 6 months, long-term goals, 12 months. We are 26 months away from the next local government elections. We want the people of South Africa to have a reason to go and vote because their municipalities are working for them. We are going to persuade, firstly, but if a municipality does not want to cooperate, we will put pressure and also ensure that everybody complies. Let me share with you, Oli. There are 2 municipalities in South Africa. One for 3 years have not been submitting the annual financial statement. The other one for 2 years have not been submitting the annual financial statements. This time around, we are drawing a line on the sand. There is no one who is not going to submit the annual financial statements. If it has been a culture, we are going to cut that bad culture. If you have been given money, account. If you don't account, we will introduce consequence management.
That's tough talk, Minister, and I'm going to come back to you for the names of these municipalities. But it sounds encouraging, Mr. Leroux, because the Minister says out of a previous 66 municipalities that were categorized as dysfunctional, that number, 66, has now gone down. I'm going to see if I can push him so that he can give us at least some news this evening as to what that figure stands at. But you are taking a very interesting approach, and you're saying you're tired of talk. Let's actually take the government to court in order for municipalities and, if needs be, for national government to be forced to do the right thing. What is it? What's the basis for you taking the government to court?
We think all constitutional remedies should be exhausted, and Minister Hlabisa has access to formidable interventions under the Constitution, Section 1395 and Section 1397, and the rest of the articles in that part of the Constitution specify the options for intervention, not only by the province in a failing municipality, but also by national government, and the Minister of COGTA is the responsible entity in this case. Unfortunately, in our pursuit so far to force National Treasury, COGTA, provinces to intervene in collapsed municipalities, we have been met by opposition, lawfare from the side of government. Just 2 weeks ago, a court even gave a punitive cost order against COGTA and against the Northwest Province and against the Ditsobotla local municipality. That's the town where your Clover reference, the Clover factory was. That punitive cost order was given by the court, where it said that the opposition by government to COGTA and our partners in the town's litigation to force a provincial intervention was totally unnecessary and in violation of their constitutional obligations. In fact, I must point out that what we are trying to show through our litigation and what we want to rely on is that the provinces and COGTA and National Treasury do not have an option to intervene. They are instructed by the Constitution to intervene in cases of serious financial mismanagement and so on. So when we have 2 or 3 years of no financial reporting, that is definitely crossed the threshold. So I think a first step could be, because this is not only COGTA, other entities are litigating in other towns seeking solutions. I think a very first important step could be for the minister to show by example that his department must not oppose, as some of his predecessors did, meritorious litigation with merit. And in fact, we would encourage the minister, and we are very willing to assist, him in exercising his obligations to intervene in these towns, because he can rely on the Constitution to intervene from a national level. We cannot wait. Once it's clear a town has collapsed, we cannot wait several months. Intervention must happen immediately.
All right. We'll have the minister to summarize what you said. It's simply that these two municipalities will be read the Riot Act. Now, here is Sakalecha, and it says, in the instance of these two municipalities, we are going to court to force corrective action. As a department, as a national department, would you oppose Sakalecha in court, or would you actually join the legal action in support of interventions?
Toli, let me share with you this. I will engage Pete Leroux. I have an invitation from the business people from Titsobotla municipality. That municipality is always in the public domain for bad reasons. It's just known. It is time up that the municipality do things right. On the question you are asking me, especially the municipalities that are not submitting financial statements, we will not go to court as the government. All we will do, because the law allows us, intervene through Section 154. If it doesn't become better, go to Section 139. If there is no cooperation, go to dissolution as a last resort. But there are very simple things we will do to municipalities. The two, we want to single them out because it is unacceptable to be given money and you don't account with that money. We will single them out that in a short-term goal of 4 months, before the Auditor General releases the audit outcome, these two municipalities will have submitted their audit outcome. And if they don't, there are various options. The councillors in those municipalities, they may not see the increase in their allowances in December, because what is the use of increasing the allowances? Because it's the minister's prerogative to say yes or no. If he says no, he will give reasons that if you can't account for the money given to you, deal with your administration to give the AG the audit report. And if we feel that one does not send a clear message, we will escalate the action through 154, 139, and to the last resort. We need to draw a line and set a tone, because if you want things change, there must be a political will from the government to take an action to hold people accountable. And I want to assure you, Toli, you know me, I will come back after 4 months and ask me, how far have you gone and what is the outcome? I will single out the two municipalities willy-nilly. They will have to submit the annual financial statement this year. It won't carry on as it has been before.
Yeah. Pete, are those reassuring words from the minister that stern action is now the order of the day?
I believe that the minister's interventions need to be more forceful. I understand that he wants to ascertain and to give the entities a chance. He's just entered office. But in many of these municipalities, the evidence abound that require a national government intervention under Section 1397. And I would urge the minister not to give these municipalities further options, but to exercise the obligations that says that the national government must intervene where these entities have collapsed and where the provincial interventions have not proven fruitful. And there are many such instances.
Yeah.
I can add that I would think that there are more things we can do in the exercise of transparency. I understand, for example, that the Auditor General has released these reports, but I must add that I also think the Auditor General can go further. This is not only Minister Hlabisa, although I think that he must do more forcefully under his obligations, but even the Auditor General has information that she can release, the so-called management reports of these municipalities, because this problem is too large for government to solve only. Minister Hlabisa, I can understand some of his dilemmas. He's probably concerned that National Treasury or COGTA needs to start managing 10 or 20 or 30 municipalities. That is indeed a problem. But it is the challenge that unfortunately is now landing on his lap. But to solve it efficiently will require more than just national government intervention. And this is why it is so crucial that the Auditor General's management reports also get released, that we get more transparency so that entities of civil societies, the businesses in the towns, the community organizations can intervene. And then I would urge there that government do not oppose through lawfare the litigation where these entities start them, but rather, in fact, agree with their demands where as in most cases, they are properly justified.
Yeah. Minister, let me just come back to you. You said something quite interesting towards the latter part of your response, saying that allowances may be withheld to municipalities if they obviously are not doing what they are supposed to do. Are you talking here about the municipal grants that we are all aware of, that municipalities receive from the national government? If so, that's one element. People perhaps may also be interested to know, given that I think we are in the salary negotiating period, would people receive their salary increases in a municipality that is obviously in a bad state, where things are simply not getting done? Is there some kind of reassurance from you that people are not going to get salary increases when they are not doing their jobs?
Lee, let me assure the people of South Africa, we are not talking about the grants. Grants go to municipalities to advance development of our communities. Every year in December, there is a redetermination of increasing the allowances for councillors. And there must be a concurrence by minister at a national level. The question will be, if the councillors allow the administration not to submit the annual financial statements, you can think of a punitive measure to put in place that until you councillors ensure that the administration submit the annual financial statements, this increase will be put on hold. At a municipal level, the senior managers, the municipal manager, CFO, and all directors, their salary increase is decided by the council. It will be up to councillors. Why do you give bonuses and salary increase to managers who do not account how money was spent in the municipalities? This has nothing to do with middle managers and ordinary people on the ground, because it is not their responsibility to submit the annual financial statement, but it is the responsibility of the MM and the directors who are accountable in terms of the expenditure of every rand and cent in the municipality. Unless you introduce consequence management, a municipality for 3 years is not reporting about how they spend money. if you don't bring that to an end, many will join them. Let me share last thing, Tony. One municipality a month ago requested me, the minister, to approve to be upgraded from category 2 to category 3. And that will mean councillors will get more categorization in terms of allowances and the senior managers. And this municipality adopted the unfunded budget. The response was, we cannot upgrade you until you adopt a funded budget. Because if you say you have more money, you are no longer category 2, you are category 3, adopt a funded budget and bring back your request. For now, we are declining to approve it.
Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa and Pete Leroux, the CEO of COGTA, they are still with me. Let's conclude this conversation. Pete, before we went to a break, I wish the minister could have seen the satisfied look on your face when you heard him talking tough like that. Investment flows to municipalities, or perhaps the inverse, the outflows because of either bad infrastructure or even the tendering system that was raised in that article. Talk to us about the contributing factors to investment leaving municipalities. What is going to make it stay?
Yes, what is going to make it stay is a focus on the basics. I read President Ramaphosa's speech earlier this week, where he spoke about the just energy transition, and he said that he wants to position local municipalities at the center of that, and that must be, he dedicated about half his speech to that. And he wanted municipalities to be the best of the best and to attract all sort of investment and so on. But I think that is missing, I think that's missing the point. The state of most municipalities in South Africa has so far deteriorated that what is required now is a realistic focus on basics. And I think that's the kind of talk and realism that we need, is look at the basics. And that's what the investors also look at when they consider a town. They consider the state of sewage, of roads, of refuse removal, of municipal accounting, of our bills being delivered, municipal tax and rates bills, and so on. And none of those are in place in so many municipalities across the country. When I was smiling earlier when the minister spoke, it was in anticipation more than in satisfaction at his strong words, because of course I encourage him to act strongly, but we remain yet to see this. His predecessors were not successful. In fact, over the last 10 years, we saw deterioration, and it's up to Minister Hlabisa to make some critical decisions. But these critical decisions must involve administration to a higher level. For example, right now, COGTA is litigating with our partners in Litigation, where we've just succeeded in enforcing provincial administration. And very soon we will bring an application to escalate this to Section 1397, which is administration under national government. And I think a key test will be to see whether COGTA and national government opposes that, or whether in fact they take the initiative and upon our encouragement or in working with us, just implement that as is their obligation. When we litigate, we just want to enforce the obligations that are currently under law and in the Constitution. And so the terrible thing, when we look at investment going into towns, we see, or going out of towns, flowing out, all of this is caused and harmed by the long delays, often years of delays, caused by lawfare from the side of the government when there are legitimate insistence through the court just to get national or provincial government to do its job. So I think a key test for Minister Hlabisa and others will be the next at the next point where there's litigation. Will they oppose, or will they come to the negotiation table and get a settlement?
Yeah. Minister, I think you have given us the different options, because I think you want to steer clear of litigation, but I don't want to speak on your behalf. I'm just reflecting based on what you said previously, that you have all the options at your disposal to deal decisively with municipal officials who are not doing what they're supposed to. We're fast running out of time. I have to ask the question around these 66 municipalities that have been declared dysfunctional. You said that that number has decreased. How many are dysfunctional now, given this revision?
Actually, because we have to report through all stages in government, it will be irresponsible for me, having not gone through all stages, but to go public. But what I can assure the public, they dropped by 49%, which is a very good thing from where we stand. And this agrees totally. If you look at the audit outcomes, in 2021-2022, 22 municipalities got disclaimer. But in 2022-2023, the number dropped from 22 to 12, which is more than 50% drop of bad audit outcome. Yes, there was a drop by 4 municipalities in terms of clean audit from the previous year to the year that was reported. But if you look to unqualified municipalities, adverse, as well as disclaimer, it is not as bad as it has been. And this is encouraging. The president, during the Just Energy Transition Conference, he said, the 7th administration, there will be no tolerance of mediocrity. Everybody must perform. The thing is, local government must be run like a business. There is no business that gives bonuses to people who are not productive. There are no businesses that pays employees who do not do work, who come to work and sleep on duty.
Here's a kicker, Minister, and very quickly, please, because I'd like to give Pete a chance as well. Final word. If municipalities are to be run like a business, imagine the business owner that is not doing what they are supposed to in order to support the business. Let me make a very clear case of what I'm asking of you. In Tshwane right now, we have 29 councillors who are not paying their rates, taxes, and other services. How do you explain that?
The municipal council in Tshwane, they know what the law dictates. They have to implement the law, get into an arrangement with those councillors. They pay the salaries to those councillors. So it is up to them to be decisive. If you have to get into a state that we get into an arrangement, institute the payment arrangement immediately. You shouldn't allow it go unattended.
All right. Pete, final word from you on the question of a culture of accountability. Do you think that this minister, I mean, he's saying all the right things. I'm so satisfied leaving this conversation tonight, but the test, or as they say, the taste is in the pudding, is in the eating.
Yes, the taste is in the test is yet to come. And what we must look for is, well, to the extent that local governments are analogous to business, it's not only not giving bonuses, but it's actually firing people. It's actually putting entities under the equivalent of business rescue or liquidating them, which is the escalation to provincial or national government level. It's firing management, getting new management in place. Actually, if the analogy is business, we need much tougher action. Not only not bonuses, but serious interventions. And then a final test, I think really we will see, let's keep our eyes open and see whether the minister manages to convince his associates that where Sakeliga and others insist on interventions under the Constitution, that is not opposed to the courts and not drawn out. I think that'll be a sign of looking to get the basics done right.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time. Unfortunately, we've completely run out. Pete Leroux, the CEO of Sakeliga, and the Minister of COGTA, Velenkosini Hlabisa. Minister, thank you for your time and contribution this evening.